hey friends, this is me, Vishwas Nayan. I'm from Devtron, and I'm with Alexis, who is going to give you a lot of insights about the potential of Elastic. I think Devtron has also really given that inclusiveness of and the feeling of how ease an elastic stack can be in your production, but yet I wanted a developer advocate from Elastic to come and talk about how can it really make an impact on the production and how can you accelerate the way your production is going to behave when once you are really stacking up all the different open source softwares which are there from Elastic and the potentials of it. And I'm with Alexis, who is going to give you and brief overview as well as an advanced overview with a demo, which is going to give you a lot of insights about how big as an potential can Elastic bring to your production. And thank you so much, Alexis, for being on the show. Means a lot.
Yeah, no, thank you again, Vishwash, for having me. I am always excited to talk about any technology that I'm working on, and Elastic definitely has some new things that it's doing, and then also some just things that we're continuing to do and that we've done well for a while. So I'm excited to talk about how to get started with Elastic, whether that's for observability, whether it's for security, whether it is for whatever else, enterprise search. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it for sure.
Sure. Sure. Let's start the show, folks. So you can share your screen so that we can go on with the session.
Okay, awesome. Let me make sure I'm not muted.
All right.
All right, awesome. Can you see my screen?
Yep, it's up and running.
Awesome. I think I will start at the beginning then, not at the
Sure.
end.
Go ahead.
We'll be getting to the demo.
Sure.
All right. So my name is Alexis Roberson. I work as a developer advocate at Elastic, and before this, I worked as a DevOps engineer in the data networks team at Comcast. Worked with some really talented engineers there. Learned a lot, and so now I'm here working on the community team. And a little bit about me, I'm based in the US. I live in Texas, which at times feels like its own planet, but I love it. And I enjoy listening to audiobooks in my hammock when it's not too cold, and also playing around with different technologies, which my goal this year is to share more of those personal projects online. So I'm excited about that. I'm here to talk about getting started with the Elastic Stack for production. And this is really a tour of observability and how this solution will impact your environment. So without further ado, let's get started. So if you're not familiar with Elastic, Elastic is or you need a refresher. We're often referred to as the ELK stack. So we are a search company at our core, and we offer search solutions, our solutions around search. And essentially, what we do is we take in data, whether structured or unstructured, and we store it in a way that makes it searchable. We then allow you to run searches or aggregations against that data in order to get back relevant results quickly. And so here we have some companies that also are some companies that use our technology. All right, so getting into it, looking at this snapshot from the top down, we have three solutions powered by the stack that can be hosted on any platform, or you can take advantage of using the Elastic Cloud where we would host it for you. And then if we zero in on the middle of the middle, like looking at the stack, and we sort of read it or looked at it from the bottom up, we ingest our data using integrations, store them in Elasticsearch, or store it in Elasticsearch as documents, and then use Kibana to visualize that data. Right. So if the stack were a building, I like to kind of have analogies to think about things. Right. So if the stack were a building, the tools used to ingest the data could be sort of the delivery of those building materials. Elasticsearch would be the materials used to construct the building itself, and Kibana would be the end result of the physical building. Okay. And then we have three solutions at the top. So we have enterprise search, observability, and security. And so these would be the different parts of the building that are used for different purposes, right? And so specifically, enterprise search enables you to build an internal search experience for your team or to add search to your customer facing website, app, or e-commerce store. So it's sort of an out of the box solution or solution for creating a search experience. Okay. Elastic observability, which we'll cover today, it helps you to understand what's going on in your system and how can you solve any problems or issues that you're facing in an efficient way. Security does exactly that, right? So it allows you to protect your infrastructure against threats and vulnerabilities. Okay, so this is a pretty typical snapshot we would use when you really want to get a holistic view of what Elastic does, what are our key solutions, and then how the Elastic Stack powers each of these solutions in different ways. Now, before we get into observability, let's consider a story for a moment. I told you I like to kind of tell analogies for better understanding. So there was a girl on a beach with her family, and she noticed something weird happening to the water. She had learned in geography class how to detect a tsunami, and she noticed the water receding or sort of pulling away from inland. So she immediately notified her parents, and after some convincing, they told everyone else on the beach, and then decided to head indoors. As they were making their way inside, they saw a wall of water heading towards them. It was, in fact, a tsunami. And the quick thinking of this little girl is what saved them, right? So pretty inspiring story. So I want to think of this little girl's behavior as the behavior of a good observability solution. So she detected there was a problem, because she was observing or monitoring her environment, our production. So this real world scenario. And she notified or alerted her parents or the admins of the system, and they were able to take action against it, right? So I won't go further in regards to prevention or synthetics monitoring, because that's where this analogy will kind of fall apart. But hopefully this gives you an idea or sort of puts you into the mindset of what observability is and the impact that it can have in your production environment. So speaking of production, let's take a step back and consider how it has evolved over time, right? So cloud native technology used to be sort of a nod to the future. It was the sort of the next big thing that was happening, and this migration was going to happen, and that has quickly become the standard, right? So this is great. This is great for scaling quickly and being able to prepare your systems for huge upticks in traffic. At the same time, it's also added a layer of complexity to managing systems, right? So here we have the monolithic architecture, which for a long time it worked, right? You had your application, your storage, dependencies, everything sort of neatly packaged together with a nice little bow. The problem was, when something went wrong, it affected the entire system. It was frustrating, right? So then we moved to microservices, which was awesome. It meant we could break up an application into services where each service did one thing and it did it well. So it's like, listen, I have one job and I am going to do this job like it is my life's purpose, right? And each service then becomes responsible for its own storage, as you can see illustrated in the picture. And so that resource is no longer shared. Now, this is great for if we had an online store and the service was responsible for checkout, for example, experienced a problem. It wouldn't affect the entire system. We could fix it and then deploy the changes. But as you can imagine, deployment and maintenance again becomes more of a hassle. Then we have serverless, which is becoming the next buzzword, or a huge buzzword, and for good reason. So it builds on top of the microservice architecture, where each service or function is hosted by a third party. So that's something that's not managed by you. It's hosted by a third party. And this indeed makes production easier, because scalability is handled for you, so you don't have to sort of make those type of scaling decisions. I mean, this is a good thing. So it takes away that complexity, and that's helpful. But we also have to think about the fact that the monolithic and microservice models didn't just go away overnight because serverless is here, right? So it hasn't been replaced, and therefore we need to have an observability solution that ensures that we're able to monitor and we're able to assess our systems and understand what's going on with them, whether they're monolithic, whether they're microservice, and then also whether they are serverless. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, now let's get into observability. Okay, and what exactly is observability? It's not just a monitoring solution. It's data analysis. It's creating action. It's way more than just monitoring. All right, so what is observability? So this essential, I like to kind of think, I know this is a sort of a big word and, can be an intimidating thing to think about. But I want to kind of bring it down to like our understanding and make sure that, we think about it as simply as possible because of the impact that it can have. So essentially it means to grab data from different sources and use it to gain greater insight on what's going on within your system. Okay. And this can be all types of systems, which can send logs, metrics, or results of traces. Okay, so we have the database, we have our app. We can get information back from. We can get app logs back. We can get logs back from our database. We can get data back from our containers to understand how they're functioning, how they're running within our production environment. And so much like the way I just told sort of the tsunami story to convey the bigger picture of observability allows us to see the story the data is telling us about our environment. Okay, so it gives a narrative. It's not necessarily what we want to see, but it just simply it tells us simply what is the case. It's going to tell us whether our system is healthy, whether there's a problem, or whether there's nothing wrong and we can just kind of kick our feet up and and enjoy the ride, which if that ever happens, that will be a historical moment, which I'm sure on your team that there's the work is never done. So observability, so the production environment, to kind of sum up sort of this section, the production environment has changed over time, and observability must continue to tell the story of these changing our distributed systems. And so in doing that, there are three pillars of observability to make this happen. All right, so what makes an effective solution? What makes an effective observability solution? So these are the measurements, and I kind of hinted at these in the previous slide, but these are the measurements that are implemented to determine the health and performance of our applications and infrastructure. And for an application, this could be how many transactions the application handles per second. While infrastructure metrics, okay, so that's sort of like application or data you can get back from your application. Infrastructure metrics might measure the CPU usage or the usage of other memory resources on a server. Now, so what are logs? Okay, so those are metrics. What are logs? Logs are files that record events. Okay, so warnings, and this can also include warnings as well as errors that occur in your system. And so logs are, they're like that person that posts their entire life on social media, right? Which is, actually in a way helpful. If people wanted to know what's going on in your life, they would simply just look at your Instagram page, or, look at your page, and they're able to see like, hey, like this is what's going on. These are the major events, or these are the events happening. And so that will be the same thing as sort of like, your log file. And then finally, what are traces? Okay, so what are traces? Are distributed traces, and so they're pretty useful in understanding your system. Where logs and metrics will tell you if there's a problem. Maybe you're using too much storage, or maybe you're experiencing an error somewhere. Traces will tell you the source of the problem. It helps you to uncover sort of the root cause, right? So perform that root cause analysis. And it does this by recording how long it takes an application component to process a request then pass the result to the next to the next component. Okay, so it passes the result of that to the next component. And these pillars offer some insight by themselves, but together serve as an effective way to see the full narrative, okay, the bigger picture of your system, especially when there's a problem. Because when there's a problem and you're experiencing, something that is also that's like affecting your users, you want to make sure that you can figure that out as quickly as possible. And you want to make sure that you have all the information that can help you to make an informed decision. Okay, so a data-driven decision. And so, when you have systems, and so we talked about this in the production, or in when we talked about sort of the overview of the production environment. When you have systems that are complex, and you're getting data, streaming in data from just different places, different sources, it's really difficult to pinpoint it without an effective sort of observability solution or a way to monitor what's going on in your environment. Okay. So here we have the different teams that would need to use this data to understand their systems. So we have ops, and this can also include DevOps. You have the business team, and they'll be pulling in different data, right? So they'll be pulling in logs, so like database logs, containers. They'll be pulling in metrics for your host database. You have real user monitoring, response time, all these things that will be needed to understand your system. So if a server is down or there's some type of issue, your ops team, might pull in someone from DevOps to try and put that information together. They say, hey, we're using this tool to monitor this situation. We're experiencing this downtime. We're experiencing this server that's down. How can we put our heads together? And typically what that looked like, I'm thinking about even my old team, what it looked like is a bunch of meetings, which isn't necessarily a problem, when you're trying to understand the situation, but it would be a constant sort of regurgitation of what the problem is. So with each person that was sort of added to the call, we had to go back over, okay, this is what happened, this is a problem, and sort of give that person time to understand what's going on. And so what Elastic Observability does is it's able to pull all of this data together into one place, so that every team member, has, every team or team member has this information, sort of has that same sort of insights within the system, so that they can also help and contribute to the solving of the problem. So, that's sort of how it typically looks, where it's sort of siloed. So each of these individual teams will kind of hone or take responsibility for the different data that's pulled in. And the Elastic Observability solution allows for this to be unified. All right, so now we're getting, I feel like I'm moving pretty quickly here. So I hope I'm not talking too fast, but so now we're at Elastic Observability. So what is Elastic Observability? What is this solution? And how does this all fit together? Okay, so just taking a look at this snapshot here. We love a good snapshot. It's always a way to convey what all we do, what the different features that we offer. So up until this point, we've talked about infrastructure monitoring a bit. We've talked about logging, and how we can use that to understand what's going on in our system. And then when we think about APM, synthetics, and RUM, that's also something in the next slides that I want to sort of get into a little bit detail with. And so understanding our solution. So we offer these features. We offer this united interface where different teams, whether the developers, SREs, DevOps, IT admins, can check out sort of this interface and understand better, what's happening in the system, right? And then offering machine learning and analytics for search, correlation, causation. Machine learning is important, being able to also add in prevention, or understanding whether or not detecting whether or not there's a problem. And so this is all included within the observability solution. And obviously we've talked about the data, we've talked about the telemetry data, metrics, logs, and traces that we are funneling in. Okay, so APM Application performance monitoring. This is an observability feature that can be used to understand how well your system, how well your applications are performing. And so we have distributed tracing, dependency mapping, and then machine learning and AI ops and AI ops. That's hard to say back to back. But so that is something that is definitely a feature that we're definitely emphasizing now. It can make a huge difference in how you're able to and how you're able to observe and observe your environment. So with distributed tracing, this can be integrated with various architectures. So monolithic, microservice, serverless, and then also with the support of different languages like Python, Java, Go, etc. And so distributed tracing, we've kind of touched on that before, but you're able to sort of go through the different transactions that would take place in your system or that's taking place in your system. It can be helpful for understanding, okay, what could be causing any sort of holdups in performance. Then the dependency mapping, we will actually be able to take a look at in the demo at the end. But I think it's really cool because you're able to see all sort of the interconnectivity of the services that are within your environment or within your system, and you're able to see those and able to sort of like pinpoint any issues, any performance issues, and whether it's associated with a service within our particular service within your environment. And then obviously the ability to detect anomalies. So anomaly detection will help you to speed up any process in figuring out, okay, what's the root cause of a situation, what's the root cause analysis. And so so this is application performance monitoring, pretty useful for any observability solution. Next, we have synthetics monitoring. And this is actually something that's really cool. It's something that I'm continuing to learn about. But so synthetics monitoring allows you to be able to mimic sort of the process that a user will go through when they're on your site. So again, if we had like a shopping site, and one of the functions that they can do is adding different items to their cart. So you can mimic that user journey to ensure that the performance or the expected performance, that they're experiencing, that is something that, that you can improve upon, or if it's something whether or not you can improve upon. So you can set up user journeys to be able to do that, to understand sort of the user's vantage point. And then for monitoring uptime and availability, you're able to do that. That's also another feature. You're able to see, okay, is this working? Is this portion, is this link available, or is this alive, basically? So it pings it to make sure that it's up, it's available when the user sort of puts in that request or clicks a button, that it is available to them. And then, obviously, lastly, the telemetry data. So being able to gain context for critical issues. And so when you're able to sort of monitor or mimic sort of the user's journey, you're then able to sort of gain an understanding about, are you able to figure out when you're experiencing issues, what can be the cause based on previous journeys that you've been able to monitor. And then we have real user monitoring, or RUM. This does not relate to the beverage. I've checked. And so this includes, the ability to visualize performance metrics, filter by client side factors, and then also trace user experience. And one of the things, so we talked about, for observability, we've talked about monitoring, and then also one of the things that I kind of haven't touched on, but visibility, right? So, that it's simply just saying that, a good observability solution will allow you to have a complete visibility into what's going on in your system, right? So what's visible, right? Making sure that you can understand what's going on. So you're able to visualize performance metrics to make sure that your application is performing as you're intended it to. And then also a cool thing is you can filter by client side factors. And so you have different things that can cause problems within your user's experience, and that can be browser, the type of browser they're using, that can be the device, or can be their operating system. And so what you're able to do is when a problem is when a problem is happening, you're able to filter by those different things. So filter by device, filter by operating system. Is it just folks with this operating system that's experiencing this type of outage or experiencing this type of lag in performance? And then being able to trace user experience across the hybrid cloud is also something that is included within real user monitoring. Oh, kind of going too quickly. There we go. Okay. All right. So how do we get data into Elasticsearch? Okay, so we know that the three processes included within the pipeline is the ability to ingest the data stored into Elasticsearch and then visualize it using Kibana. But how exactly does this work? So how does this work within the Elastic Stack? So we have different options. We have different beats that you can use. So with the beats, you can use the different types of beats. Okay. And when you think of beats, you can think of it as like a lightweight shipper. And Logstash is where further processing is required before sending data to Elasticsearch. And so there are different types of beats. So you have audit beat for audit data. You have file beat for logs. Metric beat is for metrics. And so, if you want to, so for file beat in metric beat, we talked about logs and metrics that are part of the observability solution. So you would use these two beats to be able to ingest your data. And so we also have a packet beat that's used for network traffic, and then winlog beat for window log events, and then lastly heartbeat is used for checking sort of like whether something is alive, whether it's up, whether it's available for your user. And so Logstash and beats, and you may think like, okay, how can I make the decision as to which one to use? Is there a way for me to be able to ingest data without having to think about it? And the answer is yes. You can use the Elastic Agent, which is actually the recommendation, and it will evaluate your data and be able to decide which avenue or where it should be routed in order to be properly ingested within Elasticsearch. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's one of the things that you can do. And then the Elastic Agent is supported by different languages like Go, Python, Java, different clients that can be used. And it'll pull your data in. Once it's in Elasticsearch, then you're able to visualize it. All right, so here we have sort of a look at. I'll pause this here while I'm talking, but here we have when you either spin up an Elastic cluster or run within or log into Elastic Cloud, which I actually like the Elastic Cloud version of it instead of spinning up my own, because it's just, for me, it's just easier. And so here is the homepage that you will see once you log in. And then once you click this tab, you'll be able to see like other options for the different solutions. So we have observability, alerts, overview page, logs. And then, how do you get that data into Elastic? Let me go back. So then how do you get that data into Elastic? How do you ingest the data? We have different, you'll press add integrations. And once you're there, it'll take you to this page. And here you're able to use one of our connectors. We have a huge amount of connectors that you can use. And this includes whether you want to integrate it with PostgreSQL, whether you want to get information or metrics or logs from Docker, whether you want to get it from Apache. So whatever connector that we have available, you can use that to be able to ingest your data and start monitoring it. And so here you can see this is just a view of all of it, and then you can search here at the top what type of search company would we be if we didn't provide functionality for search there. So yeah, you're able to search for what you're looking for and ingest your data. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Trying to get out of there. Okay. All right. So once your data has been added, you can view it on the observability overview page here. And we have logs, we have app database logs, web logs, containers, all these different things, whatever's within your system, and that you've ingested within Elastic, you'll be able to see on this page. And this is helpful for sort of being a one-stop shop on this page to see, okay, what's going, how are my logs looking? Do I have any anomalies? Do I have any alerts that's letting me know that there's an anomaly that's happening within my system? I can look at my different services, and then I can take this and also have further visualizations. And so I can use this page. I can also create I can also create dashboards to get a better view of my data, or if I wanted to if I needed to sort of present the data, the state of our system to sort of a internal team, or a third party, it would be easier to do that. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that was an understanding of what Elastic is, and I just kind of want to go into a demo, talking about so that we can see the observability page. So let me go here. So I'll go to this page first. And so here we have a website, our e-commerce store called Hipster Store, where you can buy like antique items, and it has different functionalities. So like if I wanted to purchase this camera, which is expensive, wow, but it's antique, so I understand. I can add it to my cart here, and it will be able to it'll be, and then sort of a vintage typewriter. So this is the different services that are provided within this application or within this website. And so when we come to the observability page, and so the overview page that I was showing, so we have alerts, and this will show us the different anomalies that are taking place based on the rules that we set. Okay, so an anomaly is detected once you've created the rule. Okay, so here we can go even deeper into what's exactly taking place, and then here it says we can view the rule details, and this is going to tell us, okay, what triggered this, what rule triggered this, what rule did it offend that caused this alert to be created or documented. Okay, and so whenever you hear the term, you'll when we're talking about observability, you'll hear granular insights. Granular insights is provide, really good, sort of deep dive insights. And what this basically means is that when you're looking at one functionality, you're able to sort of go deeper into and investigate. Right. So when we started here on the observability page, and then we wanted to take a look at anomalies. So we have this huge list, and then we're able to then go into greater detail and say, okay, what is this? When did this take place? When was this recorded? What's the actual value, right? What's the type of the rule? And then also then drilling into the rule itself. So that's pretty helpful. Let me go back. Okay, so we have alerts, also log events. So you're able to see the different events over a period of time. And this is based on like the different systems that we have that's pinpointed here. So for Postgres, for our front end, for our logs for our front end. So we're able to see different logs here. And then our services. So these are the different things. So this is a microservice architecture. So dealing with distributed systems, and this is telling us, what's happening. It's giving us throughput. So yeah, so we're able to get a lot of information just by looking at this at a glance. Monitor monitors user experience. So really looking at those core web vitals and understanding what's going on within our system. And then also you can create new alerts. So these are here because you're able to create them, you're able to set rules. So that's helpful. Uh, so you can also, there's also an official alerts page, right? So instead of just like the overview page, you can go into the alerts page and understand deeply, okay, what's happening. You can search for different alerts. You can change the time range to say, okay, what alerts occurred on this day or at this time. So you can search for those different things. You can look for active alerts. So these are issues that you definitely want to take into consideration, and then also recovered, right? So it's saying, hey, something happened, but we're fine now. So that's also that ability to filter. And then when your alerts escalate into like, okay, this is moved from an alert to a real problem that's happening within our system, and it's able to then give you an understanding of the severity to say, okay, this is critical, or this isn't, this isn't as critical in the moment. Obviously, we want to make sure that we deal with each of these cases that you can create based on an alert that has that is shown a justified reason, or that's shown a justified issue. So yeah, so it's again, it's granular, so you're able to sort of go deeper into what's going on, view each of these issues, and add to sort of the description, so that if you have teammates that wanted to say, okay, there's a latency issue, how can I find out the information about it, they're able to view it here, as opposed to maybe an extra meeting where everyone is trying to get on the same page. You're able to then come here, and then if you go into the meeting, you're able to go in more informed. Okay, so this is the cases page. Then we have logs, and being able to take a look at the logs that are streamed from your system. Just be able to understand the different events that are taking place. You can change the time range, obviously, and then you can also search through. You can search by host name. So let's say we chose one of these logs, and let's say we looked for a specific host by name. So maybe we wanted to look at all the different hosts, or all the different logs associated with a host. We can do that here. So as you can see, and these are the different services that are run on this host. So yeah, that's pretty helpful. Anomalies, we talked about this a little bit. This is going to tell us, this is kind of an extension of the alerts that we received on the overview page, where it showed us a list of these potential anomalies are that were taking place. And then here we have a greater visual, where you're able to see sort of this is scaled based on the date, based on over a period of time, and then also each of the services, and then looking at the severity of them. So if we were to press on this, we can also open this within the Anomaly Explorer. So that helps you to go even deeper into the issue, and it's going to tell you, so it gives you that range. So 0, and then 100, or 0 being the lowest, 100 being the highest. And so when we see this, we're like, okay, this is something that is potentially a real problem. And so you're able to go into greater detail into what's going on. So that's pretty helpful. Okay, we go back. Take a second to load. There we go. So we have the different categories here. I'm not going to spend too much time on this page. So that was logs. Then we have infrastructure. So when we're dealing with like our infrastructure data. So one thing I like here is, we can view CPU data, our CPU usage. We can view log rate, we can view memory usage or even inbound traffic. And whatever we set the metric to, that's going to be the main metric that's shown here at a glance, right? On this sort of, I think it's called like a waffle grid or something like that. That's kind of making me hungry. So you're able to press into this and see exactly, for this host, this specific host, the CPU usage, load, network, memory. So it's great visualizations for you to just see what's going on in this system, how is it performing, and whether or not it is experiencing any issues or any difficulties, and then how can we change that. You can view the logs, the processes, metadata, anomalies here associated with this host. So when we talked about the unification of the telemetry data, metrics, logs, traces, so even the fact that we're on infrastructure page, but you're still able to sort of integrate information from logs, information from uptime, and then also traces associated with this host. I think that is pretty helpful and pretty cool. So that's one thing. You can also group data. You can group it by availability zone if you wanted to also group it by provider. You can also sort. So yeah, again, the goal is an ease of use whenever you're using an observability solution, and so you want it to make sense for you and also for your team. So this is the metrics explorer. This is the metrics app to go even deeper into what's going on within your system. And if you, again, different types of infrastructure metrics can be dealing with CPU, can be dealing with Docker, right? So if you wanted to take a look at metrics dealing with your Docker containers, you're able to do that. And it's able to provide you with visualization. So this is Kibana. This is our Elastic Cloud. This is Kibana. This is how you're able to visualize the data that's already stored within your Elasticsearch cluster. All right. So with APM, it's the same thing. So I don't know if you're noticing a trend, but with every type of information that you have, regardless of what it is, there is an opportunity to visualize it. There's an opportunity to monitor it. There's an opportunity to gain insight through analytics, and then also, using, and then also the ability to use sort of that grouping together or that unification of the data. And then here for your services. So with services, let me actually jump down to the service map, because I think that this is pretty cool. When we talked about dependency management, so being able to take a look at the interconnectivity of your dependencies and figuring out which one is causing problems in performance for your users that they're experiencing. So hopefully it loads. Okay, so I'll come back to this one. But yeah, again, it's able to show you sort of the mapping together, the interconnectivity of the dependencies within your system. So the different dependencies, the different services. So we have the cart service, we have the shipping service, and then you're able to take a look at, okay, what's the health of these different services. Okay, and this is coming back as critical. So let's say we were looking at shipping service, so we can press into that. Again, that's where that granularity comes in. You're able to view the overview of it. So throughput, latency, maybe different errors that's happening in your system, the time spent by span type, different instances, and then being able to view transactions, again, dependencies, infrastructure. So we're in the we're looking at APM, our performance metrics, our performance data, but we're still able to integrate, okay, infrastructure metrics, logs. How does this correlate when we're experiencing an issue? And then we have uptime. Oh, let me go back. Okay, then we have uptime. So then we have here we have traces. So the different traces that you can use to hit different endpoints within your application or within your website to see, okay, how what's the user experiencing? How can we track these transactions? You can search each of these transactions here, and so again, that's where that search functionality within the Elastic Stack is used when we're powering the different solutions. Okay. So I'm not going to go into the rest of these. We have uptime, right? So you're able to figure out whether or not your system is available the way that you're expecting it to be for your users, and then the user experience dashboard, which can be helpful. Let me see. But yeah, that can be helpful for your users. All right, so I want to end this here, and let me see if I can go back. All right, so that was my sort of talk on observability, getting started with observability in production, being able to use it to have an effective um, an effective solution for gaining insights into your solution into your system, whether it is a monolithic microservice or serverless. Again, my name is Alexis Roberson, and feel free to follow me on Twitter or connect with me on Twitter if you have any questions. I hopefully, I was hoping to have a more clever Twitter handle, but for now, this is what I have. So, I'm working on that. So yeah, let me see.
Sure. I think that works. Thank you so much, Alexis. And there are some questions people have asked here. So the question from Shubham is, I think I've answered that. I think Krishna had asked a question. So when we provide a bunch of data and when we provide a specific keyword, you guys provide a specific result according to the key of the data which we have provided, right? Are these the flash responses? That's one of the questions that is there in the LinkedIn stream, so you can just go ahead with it.
Okay, you said it's in the LinkedIn stream.
Yes, so
Okay. I'm sorry. Can you
in the,
ask it one more time? I want to make sure I understand it.
so you can go ahead with the question here. So Krishna had asked the question because the StreamYard went on a refresh. I don't know why it just went on a
Yeah, no
refresh, and there
problem.
is, so you can just go on the link here, and Krishna had asked, so when we provide a bunch of data and we have to provide a specific keyword, yes, these are like a kind of a flash references. Yes.
Okay.
So that's how it is. So wait, it's easier to take a screenshot and send it to you on LinkedIn. So not a problem.
Gotcha.
I think you
Okay.
should have opened it.
Yeah, no, that's something that's interesting. I'm not sure. Bunch of data and when we provide a specific keyword. Yeah, that's something I'm not familiar with, but I can definitely post the answer to that.
Sure, but according to me, it's not just flashing of data. It's just like it makes your fetching process much more easier because there's already an algorithm inbuilt inside the Elasticsearch, right? That's what it is all about.
Yeah.
Yes, I think there's one more question from Shubham has asked how Elasticsearch observability solution models and store provide metrics related to data service TPS uptime in last week, which typically job of a time series database such as Prometheus. uh, dot Elasticsearch itself is capable to storing this data, or else we have to write our custom transformers in Logstash before pushing the data to Elasticsearch. So I think I can give an insight on this form.
Mm.
Time series databases are specifically a packages of storing performance matrices and data like responses of your CPU utilization of servers, right? Let's say from Prometheus, you are taking the CPU utilization and things like that, and now you are considering Elastic when you are trying to use series databases, but Elastic is for observability solution that moves beyond just data collection and monitoring to make observability a data actionable. That means you can take the data in and start fetching in the data which is already in use, and you can start working onto it. So that's what it doesn't matter whether it is time series databases or anything. So that's what my
Yeah,
answer was,
yeah,
Shubham.
and that's the goal when you're able to, and again, using Elastic Agent or even using the connectors that we have available, you're able to ingest the data, and that portion is sort of
Yeah.
taken care for you. And then once the data is within Elasticsearch, then that's where sort of the fun happens, where you're able to then run your searches against it, aggregations, be able to stream your logs, and also then being able to visualize it.
Yeah, that's how it is, right? And Elastic has that potential. So I
Mhm.
think even most of the Devtron users, like we are a CI/CD solution and we have an Elm chart implementation. That means anything related to Elastic, it's already there in front of you. Just have to deploy it, configure it, and it's just ease that Elastic bought on the table, and we are utilizing all the open source utilities that are being there. So that's how it is, folks. I think that's the end of the questionnaire. So don't worry about it. Feel free to reach out to Alexis at any given point of time, because it's the job of a developer advocate to just get in. The community dudes out there, we are specifically going out there, bringing out the use cases back to the production out there. Like somebody might say, you know what, something is an use case that I require today, and probably we might start working on it. So feel free to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to Alexis. So if you have any queries and questions, and Alexis, any ending note from your side?
No, I was just going to say thank you again for inviting me. I really enjoyed preparing for this talk, and being able to connect with users from not only the U.S. but also in India and other places. So yeah, this is really cool.
Sure. I think thank you so much, folks, for being on the show. Means a lot. And this is Vishwas Nayan signing off. And thank you so much, folks. Bye.
All right, bye.